You do not remain where you suffer because you lack strength. You remain because something inside you still believes there is meaning there. And that is not weakness, it is attachment. There is a silent part within you that clings to pain as if it were familiar, as if you had been there before. And maybe you have. You call it love. But deep down, there is a discomfort that never fades, a constant feeling of not being seen, of not being fully chosen. And even so, you stay. You stay hoping something will change, that the other person will see what you feel, that the emptiness will lessen. But what hurts the most is realizing that deep down you already know. You know you are slowly losing yourself, only that leaving is also frightening, because there is something deeper than suffering. There is the fear of facing yourself. So you negotiate with the pain, you adjust your boundaries, you silence parts of yourself, and you call that patience. But it is not patience, it is repetition, a pattern that repeats with different faces, but with the same feeling in the end. You try to change the story, but the story keeps finding you. And maybe the question was never about the other person, but about what inside you feels at home in pain, because no one remains where it hurts without an invisible reason sustaining it. There is a silent mirror in every relationship you live, and that mirror does not show the other. It shows you. It shows what you accept, what you avoid, and what you have not yet been able to see. Have you ever noticed how certain stories repeat themselves? The face changes, the context changes, but the feeling is the same, an intense beginning, an almost urgent hope, and then the emptiness returns, like an echo that never goes silent. This does not happen by chance. There is an emotional memory guiding your choices. Something inside you recognizes that kind of pain, and unconsciously moves toward it again, not because you want to suffer, but because it feels familiar. And what is familiar feels safe, even when it hurts. You may even notice the signs, but something inside you insists on staying, insists on trying one more time, as if you were trying to fix an old story, as if this time it could work. But it is not about it working with the other. It is about an unresolved inner dialogue, a conflict that manifests outside, because it has not yet been seen within. And while this is not recognized, the cycle continues. You change the person, but you do not change the pattern, and the mirror remains there, reflecting exactly what you still avoid facing. There is a silent point within you where pain stops being about the other and begins to reveal something deeper. In analytical psychology, this is called the shadow, the part you do not see, but that influences everything. The shadow is not only what is negative, it also holds unrecognized needs, ununderstood wounds, and desires that have been silenced. And when this part remains unconscious, it is projected. It appears in the other, in the form of attraction, in the form of conflict, in the form of repetition. You do not choose only people. You choose patterns that dialogue with your shadow. And this creates intense bonds, but also painful ones, because what you are seeking is not in the other. It is within you. Carl Jung expresses this precisely when he says, "Everything that is not faced within ourselves will be experienced as fate." Carl Jung. And perhaps that is why you remain, because unconsciously there is something that needs to be seen, something asking to be recognized, not through suffering, but through awareness. The problem is not feeling. The problem is not understanding what that feeling reveals. And while this is not integrated, life continues repeating the same message with different faces, but with the same pain. There comes a moment when something changes, not outside, but within. A moment when you begin to observe, without escaping, without justifying, The pain is still there, but it no longer commands in the same way. Because now, there is awareness. And awareness does not eliminate suffering, but it transforms the way you relate to it. You begin to perceive your own limits without guilt. You begin to recognize what you once ignored, and something silent reorganizes within you. It is not a sudden rupture, it is an inner distancing. An emotional distance born from clarity, and little by little, what once seemed inevitable loses its meaning, not because the other has changed, but because you no longer meet yourself in that same place. There is a strange serenity in this process, almost like silence after a great noise. You still feel, but you no longer abandon yourself, and that changes everything, because deep down, it was never only about leaving someone, it was about returning to yourself. And when that begins to happen, the cycle loses its strength, not through effort, but through awareness. If this thought touched you, write in the comments the word integration. Because it is in integration that we stop running from pain and begin to listen to what it has always tried to reveal. Like a sea that keeps moving even when the surface seems calm. If this reflection reached something inside you that was still silent, write in the comments the word recognition. Because it is in recognition that you stop repeating pain and finally begin to see what has always been within you.